When we think about strategy, it's usually about picking the best move for ourselves, right? But what if your best move actually depends on what everyone else is going to do? Well, that's when things get interesting. You have to start thinking about what they're thinking. Today, we are going to dive into a game that really shows you just how deep that rabbit hole goes.
Okay, to really get this, you gotta play along with me. So right now, I want you to pick a whole number, anything between 1 and 100. Don't overthink it, at least not yet. Just pick one. Got it? Awesome. Lock that number in your head. All right, you got your number? Here's the deal. Imagine we could take every single number chosen by everyone watching this, and I mean everyone. We'd add them all up, find the average, and then, here's the twist, we calculate 2/3 of that average. The winner? It's whoever picked the number closest to that final target. Sounds simple enough, right? But what is the winning number? Let's try and figure this out.
Okay, so to crack this puzzle, we're going to need a couple of tools from, the world of game theory. And the first one is actually super simple. It's all about learning to spot a move that's just always a bad idea, no matter what.
Okay, check this out. This comes from a Yale course, and it makes the point perfectly. Imagine you and a partner, you're both getting graded. You can each choose alpha or beta. Now, your final grade depends on what both of you pick. So let's look at it from your side as player one. If your partner picks alpha, well, you can get an A by picking alpha or a C by picking beta. Easy choice, right? You're going to pick alpha. But what if they pick beta? Well, then alpha gets you a B and beta gets you, well, something worse. You see the pattern here? No matter what your partner does, alpha is always the better move for you. Beta is just always the worst choice. And that brings us to our first big idea. It's called a strictly dominated strategy. It's a fancy term for something really simple, a choice that is always, always worse than another option, no matter what your opponents do. It's the move you never ever make. So this gives us our very first rule of strategic thinking. And Professor Ben Pollack put it best. Do not play a strictly dominated strategy. I mean, if you see a move that's always bad for you, just don't do it. It really is that simple. Okay, so not making your own dumb moves, that's step one. That's the easy part. But the real game, the real strategy, that begins when you start thinking about their bad moves, when you can predict what they're going to do by putting yourself in their shoes. All right, I want you to picture this. You're a Roman general. And the legendary commander Hannibal, he's coming for you. He's got his army, and he has two ways to get to you, a nice, easy coastal pass or a brutal, hard mountain pass. Here's the catch. You've only got enough soldiers to defend one of those passes. So what do? Which one do you defend? Okay, to solve this, we have to stop thinking like us and start thinking like Hannibal. Let's look at it from his point of view. Now, if you decide to defend the easy pass, he gets one battalion through no matter which path he takes. So for him, it's kind of a wash. But what if you defend the hard pass? Well, then he can send his troops through the easy path and get 2 battalions through versus getting 0 through the hard pass. You see? For him, attacking through those mountains is never a better choice, and sometimes it's a way, way worse choice. And this is our second big idea. It's called a weakly dominated strategy. It's a choice that's never better, and sometimes it's worse. And a smart, rational opponent, and you got to assume Hannibal is one, he's going to stay away from a move like that. And this right here, this is the power of thinking this way. You assume Hannibal isn't going to make a bad move, so he won't choose the hard pass, which means you can predict with pretty good certainty that he's coming through the easy pass. And just like that, the answer is obvious. You defend the easy pass. You solve the problem by thinking like your opponent.
All right, we've got our 2 tools now, right? Number 1, don't play a bad move. And number 2, assume your opponents are smart enough not to play a bad move either. So with those in our back pocket, let's go back to our numbers game. Let's solve this thing step by logical step.
Okay, so let's start at the top. What's the absolute highest the winning number could ever be? I mean, let's imagine a crazy world where every single person watching this picks the number 100. Well, the average would be 100, obviously. And 2/3 of 100 is, well, it's about 67. So what does that mean? It means any number above 67 can never win. It's impossible. Picking, say, 80, that's a strictly dominated strategy. Why? Because picking 67 will always be closer to the winning number. So if we use our first roll, any rational person would immediately just throw out all the numbers from 68 all the way to 100. They're just bad choices. Okay, that was step 1. Now for step 2. We put ourselves in their shoes. If we assume that everyone else playing is also rational, then they've also figured this out, right? So we know they aren't going to pick a number above 67 either. So suddenly the whole game has just shrunk. The new highest possible average isn't 100 anymore, it's 67. And what's 2/3 of 67? Yep, it's about 45.
So you see what just happened? If you believe that your opponents are rational, then all those numbers from 46 up to 67, they just became bad moves. They just became dominated strategies. Picking 50 is now a dumb move, if you believe everyone else has gotten this far.
And I think you can see where this is headed. We are caught in a spiral of logic, a cascade. Because if everyone knows that no one will pick above 45, then the new maximum is 45, and 2/3 of that is 30. So boom, numbers above 30 are out. And then, well, numbers above 20 are out. It just keeps spiraling down and down and down, with every single step resting on the idea that everyone else is right there with you, thinking the exact same way.
So this whole chain reaction, this cascade of knocking out bad choices, it just keeps pushing the possible winning number lower and lower and lower. So the big question is, where does it stop? Where does this spiral of logic finally end? What is the last number standing?
Now, the perfectly logical answer. It seems totally inevitable. But, the real world, it's messy. And real people, well, they're complicated. So let's see what actually happened when this game was played by a room full of actual humans. Okay, so if you follow that spiral all the way down from 67 to 45 to 30 to 20, it just keeps going until it grinds to a halt at one single number. 1. That's it. If every single person playing is perfectly rational and assumes everyone else is perfectly rational, the only logical answer is 1. But the winning number wasn't 1. Nope. In Professor Pollack's real-life Yale class, the average guess turned out to be around 13. And 2/3 of that is about 9. The winning number was 9. So all those brilliant people who followed the logic all the way to the end and picked 1, every single one of them lost. What on earth happened?
Well, what happened is this reveals a massive gap between being rational yourself and assuming everyone else is going to be just as rational. See, to get all the way down to 1, that requires something very, very specific and honestly pretty fragile. It's an idea called common knowledge of rationality.
And common knowledge, it's more than just you knowing something and me knowing something. It means you know it, I know it, you know that I know it, and I know that you know that I know it, and it just goes on and on forever, this insane, infinite loop of certainty. For everyone to pick 1, they would all have to believe, without a doubt, that every single other person would follow that spiral of logic all the way to the very end. And in a room full of real, messy, complicated human beings, yeah, that assumption just, it falls apart. And that right there is the ultimate lesson of this whole thing. Winning this game, it isn't about being the smartest, most logical person in the room. It's about being the best psychologist. It's about trying to guess how many steps of logic the average person is going to take before they just stop. Your success isn't about your own rationality. It's about how accurately you can judge the rationality of everyone else. So go back to that number you picked at the very beginning. What did your choice say about what you assume about all the other people out there? And that, my friends, is the real game of thinking, about thinking.